What's up, what's up, what's up, you beautiful and sexy you? You are tuned in to Get What You Want with host Jessica Brothers. Sharing these secrets to feeling powerful, healthy, and ageless so you can stop that cycle you're in and break free to live the incredible quality of life you deserve. Welcome to the Get What You Want podcast. This episode is sponsored by freehealthybook.com. If you would like to know why you feel tired, unmotivated, and can't lose that last weight, and how to start feeling powerful, healthy, and ageless, then go to freehealthybook.com. Welcome to the Get What You Want podcast, the Hack Your Health series with host Jessica Brothers and Dr. Michelle Lynn.
Hi everyone. Just a quick disclaimer. This is for education purposes only. This is not a medical advice, so please see your doctor before you implement anything that we talk about.
Thank you. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Get What You Want podcast. Today, we have the Hack Your Health series. The episode coming at you today is about eating, drinking, and drugs. This is going to be a mind blower for sure. If you like what you hear, make sure you subscribe, like, follow, whatever platform you are listening to this on. Make sure you click the button to get more. Here we go. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Get What You Want podcast, the Hack Your Health series with your host, Jessica Brothers and Dr. Michelle Lynn.
Hi, it's so nice to be back.
Yes, it is. I'm absolutely loving these series. Hopefully you guys are too. We got another great episode coming your way. We're talking about eating, drinking, and drugs. Are we ready for this?
Yes.
Yes.
Can't wait to share.
All right. Let's begin, Dr. Michelle. How are we going to start with this? What do we want to first cover here?
So we'll do our most basic, which is eating. So eating is not as simple as we think. So we talked about breakfast and breaking the fast, right?
In our last episode, correct?
Yes, in our last episode.
Yes.
And so when we eat, kind of dictates how our day goes, and it also is a support for the level of activity that we're doing. So I want to explain further about fasting. So fasting is a very high energy state for us. So it keeps our adrenaline up, and it helps us feel more awake and more alert, because evolutionarily we do better when we're motivated. So we're motivated to find food. So everybody's alert. Everybody's going out to find the food that they need. And then at the end of the day, they eat and they fall asleep. So we still have that in our genes. So we have to be careful of what we choose to do. So I highly encourage fasting and selecting the time and selecting the type of activity that you do to match how you eat.
So I want to touch on the first thing you said, that eating is not as simple as we think.
Yes.
Because I say let's bring it back to the basics, because eating really is simple. But let's mesh our perspectives here, because eating is simple, meaning like single ingredient foods, knowing your body, right? I think the complexity that you're talking about possibly is that it's different for everybody.
Oh yeah, it's different for everybody. And also what goes behind eating, the psychological, physiological things are complicated.
Yes, that's
so
very true.
Yeah, the very simple act of picking your foods, picking the times, affects a lot in the day.
Yes, yeah. So it's not that eating is not simple. It's that the choices, the neural pathways maybe that we've created, the habits, maybe even just the right information, right, is what complicates it, seemingly complicates it.
Yes. Yeah. So
awesome.
I'm going to show you all the little things that happen behind the scenes, and that way you can make your choices with your food wisely.
There we go. I love it. I love it. Are we going to dig into that next?
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So there's a huge psychological aspect to food. We use food as emotional buffers. Mm-hmm. So there's a difference between emotional eating and sentimental eating. So I want to distinguish that, because we have a lot of people that, are immigrants. They move to different countries, and eating food for them brings them closer to their culture, to their family, and we don't want to take away from that. But we want to understand, why are we eating the things we do, and in the volumes that we do, and the frequencies that we do? So Dr. Phil, many years ago, like 20 years ago, had this great series where he broke down the different things that affect what you eat, and how much you eat. And so the main thing, because Dr. Phil is a psychologist, right, or a psychiatrist, he delved into the reasons why. Are you eating for a pathological reason, for a mental health reason? Are you trying to hide behind, layers of fat for some reason, for abuse? Are you using it because you're addicted to that dopamine kick? Why? So take the time to find out. Anybody could get a counselor for any reason. So if you sit there and you think about, hey, you know what, these things happen, and I notice that when I'm very sad, I hide away and I buy 3 bags of chips and just eat all of them, maybe it's worth talking about. Mm-hmm. And that way we remove that emotional side of it. The other half is happy eating. So when we go out to eat with friends, we're happy and we eat more. So how can we control that? So maybe you don't need psychological help in this, but you need strategies. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you're going to go out and have a good time and have drinks and eat, maybe what you do is you hold off on the alcohol if you're planning on drinking.
Which we'll talk about.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more. And then maybe eat before you get there. So you're not starving and trying to shove food down your face with everybody else.
Yes, absolutely. So what I'm getting from this is being aware of your intention behind eating, right? Is it for emotional comfort? Being addicted to that emotional connection with food, which is something I definitely can relate to. I was addicted to food, and I was eating my emotions for sure when I was younger. But then I've come to realize I have a much healthier relationship with food now. My intention on eating is the understanding of nourishing my body so I can get the result that I desire. And so eating to me is completely different now. I have no guilt for eating. I understand the foods that serve me so I can feel really good. And I love the fact that going out with your friends, yes, having a strategy, because a plan, right? Mm-hmm. Have a plan or plan to fail. It's something like that. You guys know what I'm talking about. And this is why I believe that having 1 day a week, sitting down and planning out all the meals that you're going to eat that week for your body, and then having a grocery list. So when you go grocery shopping, you stick to that list. That kind of habit or routine or whatever word you want to insert there that makes you feel, like it's part of you. That's why it's so, so important, because we want that good intention, that good relationship with food, and we want to have that plan so that we can keep ourselves in that higher quality of life that, really is what we're after and we all deserve.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a really good segue into planning versus cheating.
Yes. Oh, look at that. I didn't even know. Here we go. Let's go.
I know you like to say, we don't cheat. You just don't cheat. You don't cheat on your meals. You don't cheat on your spouse.
Yes.
You just don't cheat. So that doesn't mean you can't have what you want. Okay. You have to have a plan. Mm-hmm. If you have holidays coming up and you're going to people's houses, have a plan. You don't need to eat everything on the buffet table. You could strategically pick out the things that are right for you. You could have a bite or two of dessert here and there, or even if you want a little more dessert, like you have to plan for it. And you have to understand the consequences of that and be able to mitigate the effects of what you're eating.
It's so true. Even when I was counting macros, and I typically don't count macros anymore because I've gotten so good on understanding what my body needs that I speak its language now. But when I was counting macros and I wanted some homemade ice cream or whatever ice cream you desire, I made sure that I still hit my macros, even having that ice cream. So I would eat a lot. I would do it on my higher carb days and my higher fat days. And I would eat a lot less during the day and plan to have that ice cream. And it didn't throw me off my goals. It didn't throw me off my game in my head, which is really, really important. So again, more validation that a plan is going to get you mentally in the position where you want to be. It will take you out of that vicious cycle of that yo-yo again, or starting all over again, or that regret or that guilt, right? So I love that.
Yes. And in order to kind of plan and figure out what kind of eater you are, there's two types of personalities out there. It's very interesting. There are absolutists, meaning that you can't, they just can't have, sweets in the house or snacks in the house. And then there are moderators. Moderators, if you don't have, a bar of chocolate in the back of your food pantry, they start to panic and they will, stop by a convenience store and buy a candy bar and try to eat it all, because all of a sudden they just can't have it and they can't handle that. So let's figure out who you are. If you do need to hide that one candy bar in the back, hide it.
Oh man, I would be the one that I used to be the one that you can't bring that stuff into the house because I would binge eat. Like, don't bring the contraband in the house. Not if we're gonna have, a treat meal or something that's not in my typical nutritional intake, we're going out for it and we're not bringing it back home. But now it's different. I've changed. So it's just proof that you can change too if you desire to, of course. And now I can have all that chocolate in my freezer, or my favorite type of ice cream in my freezer, or I can have those chips or that popcorn in my cabinet and be okay with not having it, because again, different relationships. So I love that you distinct those two, and the fact that you can shift. So I love that. There's hope for everyone.
Oh yes, for sure. So the last thing with eating is I want to make sure that people eat an early dinner. There are a lot of metabolic processes that occur when you eat late. There are things that don't happen too. So when you eat late, you tend to store more. And then depending on what you eat, if you eat high carb meal or if you eat a large volume meal, you will crave the next morning. So budget time, 3 hours before bedtime, that is when you should eat dinner. And dinner is actually supposed to be one of the smaller meals. You're not doing anything with that fuel. You're sitting on the couch watching TV and maybe going to bed.
Yeah, it should definitely prep you for bedtime.
Yeah.
And so higher sugary things, not good. You don't want to spike that insulin, because that could be a reason why if you wake up in the middle of the night, you could be being woken up by that spike of that insulin too. So you got to be really cautious on what you do eat at night. And if you're having cravings at night, most likely you didn't get the proper nutrition in during that day too. So that's really important to be aware of as well. But yeah, dinner, smaller meals. And my really big reason to make sure I eat at least 2 hours, typically 3 hours before bedtime as my last meal, is because of my peptides that I take. I gotta have my peptides. They're so good for anti-aging and for the for my bones and for the result that I want with my body. And I can't take that if I eat in less than a 2 hour window. Like the minimum is 2 hours before bed, and I gotta have my peptides. So find a reason for you as well to make sure that your window is adequate to your result that you desire.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
What's next?
I think we got to talk about alcohol.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about alcohol.
Okay. The bottom line is no amount of alcohol is good. And the media has done us a great disservice by touting the heart benefits of alcohol. But what studies show is that for every glass of alcohol, whether it's wine, whether it's liquor, whether it's beer that you drink, you have an exponential rise in cancers. So that's frightening. So the heart benefit is so minuscule, and it could be gotten in other ways. So unfortunately, alcohol, even though it is a societal staple, there's really no good reason to have it for health.
Yeah, for sure. Alcohol throws off the communication, if you will, between your genetics. It will, your genetics will start communicating differently, wrongly, in a poor, lazy manner. And remember, the way your genes express depends on the function of, over 200 functions of your body. And if your genes are not communicating or methylating properly, then the functions in your body suffer. It stresses out your cells. And, that's never a good thing. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, the alcohol also affects your brain and ability for your neurons to function correctly. Even as low as 1 drink a month, if you keep it regular, you're constantly doing damage, or you're holding yourself back. So, be very, very conscious of that. There are alternatives. You could do, sipping vinegars. That has been pretty exciting. If you're big into flavors, big into things you can mix.
Really strong kombucha.
Yeah.
Homemade.
Yes. Yeah, that alcohol level is so minuscule. You could definitely get the benefits of the probiotics with the fermentation. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That is so great. And what about alcohol when it comes to weight loss and hormones?
Oh my gosh, yes. So when you drink alcohol, men, that beer gut is an estrogenizing machine. So it takes the testosterone that you have and it gives you man boobs, continues the belly, and makes you tired. So if you're wondering why you're tired all the time, why you're gaining weight, look at the alcohol consumption.
Absolutely. And testosterone in men is getting lower and lower in younger and younger years. It's a real issue. It really, really is. And what about for women?
For women, the cancer portion is very, very high. The poison in alcohol affects the fat. So you could retain a lot of toxins in the fat. It doesn't cause the androgenizing effect like the men do, but it's just the amount of damage that can occur because of our size, because of how our fat distribution is. It's very, very toxic.
Yes. And when those toxins get into those fat cells, and your body does not want to touch them. It stays away from them, and then you're loaded with all this toxic fat. And yes, it's going to be a struggle to lose it for sure. Not to say that you never could. There always is a way, absolutely, but it does deter your body from wanting to reach for it for fuel, for sure. So.
And it affects your gut health. It will change your microbiome in your gut.
Yes.
And people wonder why, they're bloated all the time. Every time they eat, their stomach hurts, or their intestines are cramping. They have diarrhea, or they're constipated. It messes with, your friends in your guts, and you don't want that to happen.
No, you definitely do not. You need your gut health to absorb all your nutrients to go into your genes, so your genes can express properly and again, fully support all the functions of your body. Really, really important. Hormones, people don't realize how protective hormones are for our body as well, and necessary for us to function as well, even as we age. So that gut health, that hormone balance, and that genetic expression, to me, those are the 3 key pieces for our optimal health, and alcohol can really affect that.
Yeah. So whatever you can do to stay away. If you have friends that pressure you into drinking, they're probably not the best of friends.
Yes. Remember, anyone who's trying to make choices for your life is to do it for their own selfish reasons. And it doesn't mean that they know they're doing it. And I'm sure they love you and they have the best of intentions, but really, if you choose to do something, that's your choice and no one else's. This is your life and it's your health and no one else can dictate that. So just remember that. Stay strong in who you are.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, what's next?
So let's talk about some drugs.
All right, drugs. Here we go.
All right. So the most popular one now is marijuana. It's been legalized in many states, and we have to understand what it is and what it can do. So we're going to take the legal side all out of it. Let's just focus on the science, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So you have CBD and you have THC. CBD is more of the calming side of it. It helps with pain, it helps with anxiety, it helps with sleep. And in and of itself, it does not cause the hallucinizing effect. That is mainly THC. THC still has some benefits. It can help with the deeper sleep, and it can help with pain beyond what CBD can do. But it is also a hallucinogen. And on top of that, there's legal issues still. Like if you're, or more of a work issues that could occur. If your work still tests for marijuana, you need to stay away from these just because we don't know the purity of the CBD. Even though if it says CBD, we test for THC. So just be aware of that. So there's nothing wrong in using the topicals. The gummies I would reserve for people that are resistant to the topicals. And smoking is just never a good idea.
All those carcinogens that you're inhaling, just
right.
Yeah.
So in the third world, you even just burning wood to cook, that is the number one cause of lung disease in the third world. So imagine smoking marijuana daily as your cure to, or it's not a cure, it's a band-aid to like anxiety. Mm-hmm. You're stuffing a lot of soot in your lungs. So I always recommend, find another way to intake it. Unfortunately, well, I don't know if it's unfortunate or not, but it's not regulated. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, when things become regulated, there could be other problems that occur. But because it's not regulated, there's no dosaging that is really recommended or that is known, and the quality controls are kind of spotty right now. Mm-hmm. So the main thing that you need to know is that marijuana does not have curative effects in and of itself that we know of. I know there are things out there that says, oh, it cures seizures and things like that. But I think that's anecdotal and we don't know the whole story. These are Band-Aids. So when you do use this, use it sparingly and understand the reasons why you're doing it and the side effects. Yes. So when you're young, under the age of 25, you should avoid this at all costs, CBD and THC, because it messes with the development of your brain. Even though we're adults at 18, our brains are not adults until we're 25 or maybe even a little bit older. So stay away from it because you don't want to hold yourself back from your potential. Yes.
100%. Yes, absolutely. And I love the fact that you bring up the point that it is really just a Band-Aid. It's not a cure. And that is so true. If you are having anxiety or any kind of symptom that you are using marijuana for, just understand that your body, that is your body's way of communicating that something is off internally. There is a root issue that, there is a way to alleviate naturally too, and not to say that marijuana is not helping you through it. That is very real. I'm sure it is, but I would like to see everybody understand that there is a natural root way to alleviate that for sure, and marijuana is not that way. So that's a great point. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Also beware that it could affect fertility.
Which, right now, between boys and girls, we're seeing hormones of being less fertile, men not producing enough sperm, in younger and younger years of life. So by adding marijuana at such a young age, not only are you not developing 100%, but if it affects fertility on top of the issues we're already having with hormones not being produced to an adequate amount at younger and younger ages, I mean, think about those effects. That's double downing on your health, 100%. And having this proper education is really important, because you don't turn on the TV and the TV doesn't tell you this stuff unless you're turning on YouTube and we're in front of you, right? We are your TV right now. We are your proper information. But people aren't talking about this, and that's why this is so important. This is exactly why Dr. Michelle and I decided to do this Hack Your Health series, because there's very little sources of real information being talked about so that we are educated on making informed choices for ourselves and our own health. So hopefully this is extremely helpful.
Yeah. But the good news is that there are drugs that were recreational at one point that we're starting to discover that are actually healing. So what's coming down the pike, probably sometime next year, is microdosing of MDMA. So do you know what that is?
I'm thinking it's mushrooms.
MDMA is, I think it's Molly's. I'm really bad
Molly's.
at my lingo.
Okay.
Like
See,
Molly's.
I am too, apparently.
Yeah. So
actually, if you said the mushroom one, I would remember it.
Psilocybin.
Yeah, there we go. I knew that.
Psilocybin is coming down the line too. Yeah.
Yeah. So Molly's, which isn't that a synthetic? Is that?
Yeah.
It's not a plant.
Right.
So this is very interesting to hear.
So these hallucinogens like LSD, DMT, psilocybin, MDMA, there's research been going on about them and its effect on mood disorders like depression, anxiety, PTSD, even just things like coming to terms with death. Those are very, very important things that can actually be healed. And let me take a step back.
Okay.
Let me talk about
questions.
Yeah. Let me talk about what happens to the brain when we are mentally ill. So it could be something that happened to us. So abuse, bad childhood, bad incidents, war, things like that affect our brains. And so the Amen Clinic, which you could see them online, they are the only place that actually does functional imaging, MRI of the brain, and they could see the pockets of damage. Like there are places that don't light up. So what that tells us is that because we are mentally ill, even though we try to get better, these pockets don't allow our neural connection to come back. And so we're living in this dysfunction. And even if we want to heal, we can't really heal. Of course, there are things that we could do that are better, like eating your right fats, eating low antioxidant, low inflammatory diets, high in antioxidants, and hydrating well, sleeping well. All that is important. But for the first time, having these psychedelics being brought into the scientific world as treatment, and this is treatment, this is cure that I'm talking about, not a Band-Aid, it is cure, is pretty remarkable. Because at these doses, you're not going to trip, you're not going to have crazy experiences all the time. It's not the point. Sometimes people can, they feel a little dizzy, they can have side effects, but overall, the idea is to get the chemicals to the brain to actually bring back neural connections.
So that's what the research is showing. That will actually wake up or reactivate those connections of those areas that they're finding are not connecting, those dead areas, those black areas that aren't firing.
Yeah.
So the chemical will actually reactivate those connections. That is truly amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely, truly amazing. Because it's like, how does it know to go there? or is it just the it's like plugging in right to it's like plugging in a light to a socket, and everything, the electricity is just flowing, and it just kind of reconnects everything and it just happens that wherever it's not connected, it forms that reconnection.
Right. Yeah. It acts like a spark to reconnect all the neurons, and for you to be able to overcome mood disorders, and to be able to create the right chemicals in your brain, and to stop that negative loop that occurs. Yeah,
because typically what I've found in my research is, dopamine not being produced enough, or serotonin in the gut, that factory is not turned on, and as it goes up to the brain, but that's made in the gut. So how is that? I would love to know more about the research about how plugging in that electricity to reconnect, the pathways inside the brain, how is that triggering the hormones in the gut, those factories to be turned on and travel up the vagus to the brain?
Yeah, I don't know that they've studied that yet, but there is a very strong connection between the brain and the gut.
Yes.
Some people tell me when my stomach doesn't feel good, I get headaches, and I'm tell them absolutely. And I don't know why doctors don't understand this, but it is an absolute truth that the brain and the gut are completely related. They talk to each other all the time.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. And usually I found that headaches are the base is coming from some kind of metabolic issue with sugars. And I mean, I'm not saying that's the case all the time, but think about it. When that sugar goes into your gut, and your brain is communicating, that 100% makes sense to me, because we do have a lot of issues with sugar. Sugar can be, I don't know if we talked about this in our last episode or not about sugars, but I think we'll have to go into an episode about sugar and how it affects us in our body, our gut health and our brain, and everything in between as well. But that's when I was studying underneath a human biologist, that's what they contributed a lot of migraines and headaches to, is the inability or the effectiveness or the resistance or just the metabolic process of that individual having with sugar. So that'd be interesting to dive more into and kind of look at as well.
Yeah, we definitely can.
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be great. Anything else, or are we going to wrap this up?
No, that's really it. That's a lot of information.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is. I learned a few things today. I hope all you listening learned a ton. Again, you should be taking notes every time you pop one of these Hack Your Health series episodes on, because there is so much information coming at you, things for you to learn about, relate to understand more about your body. And that's really what our mission is. We want to educate you with the proper information so you understand how to really be an advocate for your health, take control of your health. And my mission, I know Dr. Michelle will agree with this, but she can be her own person and agree after I say it. My mission is really to get everyone to understand how great you're supposed to feel. You're supposed to feel really, really great every single day. And yes, your 100% is going to be different every single day, but your 100% is still going to feel really, really great. We're meant to feel that way. And you don't know what you don't know until you know.
Exactly.
And that is why we're offering these things for you to know, so that you can understand the capacity, how great your body is meant to feel, because everyone deserves that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yes, that is great. Love it. Everyone, thank you for listening on the Get What You Want podcast with the Hack Your Health series with Jessica Brothers and Dr. Michelle Lynn. We love you. Have a wonderful day. Rock your day. Own your day. Love yourself a little more today.